The shades of justice. The city at night was a different world. From inside my patrol car, I saw its two faces. There was the light, where good people slept, and there was the shadow. My job was to stand between them. For 10 years, this was my world. The law was a simple, bright line. I believed my duty was to keep that line clear and strong for everyone. Justice was not a complicated idea for me. My name is Officer Mark. My badge was a symbol of order in a world that often chose chaos. I took pride in my work, in keeping my city safe and its rules predictable. I did not think about the stories behind the crimes. A reason was just an excuse to me. If you broke the law, you had to face the consequences. It was as simple as that. I thought I had seen every kind of criminal there was, the desperate, the greedy, and the purely angry. I thought I understood the darkness, but I was about to get a new education. It began with a series of very strange burglaries. They were quiet, professional, and completely illogical. They became a puzzle that no one in my department could solve. The target was always the same location, the huge Martin Manor. It was an old mansion that sat on a hill overlooking our city. It was a fortress of glass and stone. The owner was a very rich and powerful man named Mr. Martin. He was a man who no one in the city ever really saw. He was more of a ghost than a citizen. The thief was a ghost, too. They could bypass the best security system in the world. They moved without making a single sound and left without leaving a single trace. But the strangest part was what they chose to steal. It was never money, expensive art, or valuable jewelry. The stolen items were always small, old, and worthless. The first time, the item was an old, dusty music box. The second time, a small album of faded photographs. The third, a child's worn-out blanket from a forgotten room. Mr. Martin reported every single theft, angry and confused. We were confused, too. What kind of thief risks so much to steal things that have absolutely no value? The local newspapers gave the thief a name, the Ghost of the Manor. The case became a quiet joke in the department, but for me, it turned into a personal obsession. I could not understand the motive for these crimes. The lack of greed was more disturbing than a simple robbery. I felt like we were missing the entire point of the story. I volunteered for the night's stakeout at the mansion. I wanted to solve this strange puzzle myself. I wanted to finally put a face to this ghost and see the truth. For 3 cold nights, I sat in my patrol car, watching the manor. The house was like a dark, silent giant on the hill. Nothing moved except for the wind in the trees. I watched the bright lights of the city far below me. I thought about the simple crimes that happened down there. This felt different. It felt personal and quiet. On the 4th night, my long wait was finally rewarded. I saw it, a dark shadow that moved quickly against the stone wall. A figure, small and agile, dressed all in black. My police training took over my body in an instant. My heart started to pound with a rush of adrenaline. I got out of my car without making a single sound. I was a hunter. The figure slipped over the high wall with a silent grace. They moved like a phantom, their feet making no noise on the path. They were a true professional. I followed them, making sure to keep to the shadows of the large garden. The air was cold and smelled of wet earth and night-blooming flowers. I saw them approach a door. They worked on the lock for only a few short seconds. The door opened with a very soft click. The figure disappeared inside the dark house. I found my position and waited. I did not call for any backup yet. This was my case. I wanted to face this strange ghost all by myself. I wanted to be the one to solve this mystery alone. About 20 minutes passed by. It felt like an eternity. My hand rested on my holstered weapon. I was ready for anything. I was ready for a fight or for a long chase. Then the side door opened again, just as quietly. The figure slipped back out into the cold and silent night. In their hand, they were clutching a small, simple object. It shined for a moment under the pale moonlight. I saw that it was a small, tarnished silver locket. It looked like something a young child would wear. This was the ghost's worthless treasure for the night. I had seen enough. It was time to finally end this strange game. It was time for the law to do its work. I stepped out from behind the large tree that hid me. I let my flashlight beam fall directly on the figure. The light was bright and trapped them completely. "Police, do not move," I shouted into the quiet night. My voice was loud and full of authority. It was the voice I used 100 times before in my career. The figure froze for a single second like a deer caught in headlights. I expected them to drop the locket and put their hands in the air. That is what usually happens. But they did not do that. Instead, they turned and ran. They bolted into the darkness of the large, manicured garden. The chase had officially begun. I was faster and stronger, and I knew I would catch them. I ran after the figure, my heavy boots making noise on the stone path. The silence of the night was broken. They were quick and moved with a surprising agility. They dodged trees and jumped over small bushes, but I was closing the distance between us with every step. The garden was like a maze in the darkness, but my light cut through the shadows. There was nowhere for them to hide from me. I was getting closer and closer. I saw them run toward the back wall of the estate. It was a dead end for them. There was no escape now. I knew I had them trapped against the cold stone. As they reached the wall, they turned to face me. I slowed down, my flashlight still pointed at them. Their face was hidden in the shadow of a hood. "It's over," I said, my voice steady and calm. "There is nowhere left for you to run now. Show me your hands and turn around slowly." The figure did not move. Their chest was rising and falling from the run. I took a few steps closer, ready to make the arrest. I was in complete control of the situation. Then they slowly reached up and pulled back their hood. I was expecting to see the hard face of a common criminal. I was not prepared for what I actually saw. It was the face of a young person, maybe not even 20 years old. and there was no fear in their eyes. There was only a deep and profound sadness. This was not the face of a thief. This was the face of someone who had lost everything. I was so surprised that I stopped moving. I just stared at them. The sadness in their eyes was like a deep, dark ocean. It was a look that did not belong on a criminal caught in the act. It was a look that told a different story. I was a police officer. My job was to arrest them. But for the first time in my career, I hesitated. I had a strange feeling that I was the one in the wrong here. My mind struggled to process what I was seeing. The situation was no longer simple. The clear, bright line between right and wrong had become blurry and gray. "Why?" I asked, and my own voice sounded strange to me. "Why risk everything for these old, worthless things? I do not understand the reason for this." The thief looked down at the small silver locket in their hand. They held it gently, as if it was the most precious jewel in the entire world. Their expression was soft. "It is not worthless to me," they said, their voice quiet but clear. "It is the only thing of value in this entire house, the only thing that truly matters." I was still confused. "It's just an old locket," I said. "You could be in prison for years for this. No object is worth that price. It is not logical." A sad smile touched their lips for a moment. "Logic has no place in this story, officer," they answered. "This is not about money or logic. This is about memory." They looked up from the locket and stared at the dark mansion behind me. "This house," they said, with a deep pain in their voice. "This house was once my home." Their words hit me harder than any physical blow could. I looked back at the giant, cold mansion. I tried to imagine it as a home, full of warmth and life. "My family lived here for generations," they continued. "We were not rich like Mr. Martin, but we were very happy. Every corner of this place held a memory for us." They told me a story of a different time, a story about a family that lost everything. They spoke of bad business deals and broken promises from a powerful man. That man was Mr. Martin. He had ruined their family's business on purpose. He took their company, their money, and finally their home, all for himself. "He left us with nothing," the thief said, their voice full of a quiet old anger. "But taking our home was the worst part. He did not just take the building, he took our history." All their family possessions were still inside: old furniture, childhood toys, and photo albums. They were all locked away in the attic, like prisoners of the past. Mr. Martin did not want these things. He just did not care enough to get rid of them. To him, they were just old junk left behind. But to this person, they were everything. "The music box was my mother's," they said. "She would play it for me every night before I went to sleep. I just wanted to hear that song one more time. The photo album held my father's smile," they continued. And the blanket. The blanket was from my little brother's bed. He died a year before we lost this house. Each sentence was a heavy stone that shattered my simple view of the world. This was not a burglary. This was a pilgrimage. It was an act of rescue. And this locket? I asked, my voice much softer now. I pointed to the object still in their hand. This was the last gift my father gave my mother before he passed away, they said. Mr. Martin took every part of my family from me. I'm just taking back the pieces. I looked at their face, then at the locket, then at the cold mansion. The law was clear. This was breaking and entering. This was a crime. I had a duty to perform. But my heart told me a different story. The law seemed blind in that moment. It was a cold machine that could not see the pain or the reason. It could not see justice here. This person was not a threat to the city. They were not a danger to society. They were just a person trying to hold on to a history that had been stolen from them. My entire 10-year career flashed before my eyes. All the rules, all the training, all the arrests I had made, everything was built on a foundation of simple clarity. And now, that foundation was cracking. The world was not black and white after all. It was a million shades of gray, filled with sad stories the law could not hear. I was the law in that garden. My choice would be the final verdict in this strange case. I could follow the rules, or I could follow a new, more difficult feeling. The thief stood there, waiting for my decision. They did not try to run again. They had told their story. They had put their fate completely in my hands. I thought about the cold, empty jail cell that was waiting for them. I thought about a judge reading a list of stolen, worthless items. There would be no justice in that room. The real crime had happened many years ago, and the law had done nothing to stop it. The real thief was sleeping in his bed in his fortress on the hill. I made a decision. It was a choice that would go against everything I had been taught. It was a choice that would change the kind of police officer I was forever. I slowly lowered my bright flashlight. The beam of light moved from their face down to the ground. The darkness returned and gave them back their anonymity. "Go," I said. My voice was quiet, almost a whisper. "Take your memory and go now. There is nothing left for you here. Do not come back to this place again." Their eyes widened in complete disbelief. They looked at me, searching my face for a trick. But they saw only sincerity there. They saw I was letting them go. A single tear rolled down their cheek. They did not say thank you. They did not have to. They just gave me a small, grateful nod that I would never forget. And then they were gone. They turned and disappeared into the deep shadows of the garden. They moved like a ghost, leaving only a story and a question behind. I was left alone in the cold, silent garden. The night air felt heavy with my decision. I did not feel like a police officer anymore. I felt like just a man. I stood there for a long time. I did not call it in. I did not file a report about a chase or a confrontation. The case of the ghost of the manor officially went cold that night. No one ever asked me about it again. The strange burglaries at Martin Manor stopped forever. The ghost had finally found all the pieces it was looking for. I went back to my job. I still wear the same badge, and I still drive the same patrol car. On the surface, nothing about my life has changed at all. But inside, I am a completely different man. The clear, bright line I once saw is gone forever. I now see the endless shades of gray in between. That night in the garden taught me a valuable lesson. It taught me that justice and the law are not always the same thing. Sometimes they are strangers to each other. I still believe in order. I still believe in protecting the people of my city. But my understanding of my job has become much deeper and more complicated now. I never saw the thief again. I do not know their name or where they went. They remain a ghost to me, a memory of a choice I made in the pale moonlight. But they changed me for the better. They opened my eyes to the stories that hide in the shadows, the stories that a police report can never truly capture. Now, when I look at a crime scene, I see more than just broken rules. I see broken people and broken histories. I see the reasons that are hidden from view. I am still a police officer. I still stand on the line between the light and the shadow. But now I know that the most important stories are often found in the dark. I hope this session was helpful. Please like and subscribe to our channel for more such interesting stories. Take care, everyone.